Welcome to a new update, and there's not much to update, but we're going to look at the price action of Bitcoin and to see what scenarios we could be trading and what we could be expecting, as last week was horrendous and the markets have been crashing quite heavily. But today it's full moon, so it means that we probably are going to get some more momentum to the upside based on astrology. But I'm just kidding with that. But I think that we've just witnessed a massive capitulation, right? We've had macroeconomics which were worse. We've also seen the fact that Luna has been crashing, and that is slowly fading away right now, through which the market balances back up. Before we're going to continue, make sure to subscribe and like this YouTube update, and check out my Twitter and Instagram where you can find daily content when it's about the markets and about crypto and also about my personal life. When it looks like the markets are crashing this heavy, and I've been saying this previously, it feels uncertain and it feels like your entire portfolio diminishes away, which actually has been happening. But it also grants the biggest opportunities across the markets as the markets have been collapsing. This entire period that we're currently living in is one that you should be looking at for investment purposes. Most of the projects are down 90%. They can still go down a lot, especially if Bitcoin is not done with the actual downtrend, which might be the case. But still, it grants you a DCA strategy for investment purposes. If we're looking at trades, I think that we are witnessing a period where we're going to have pretty heavy volatility. So if Bitcoin is going to be bouncing a lot from between 5 to 10% on a day, or like 20 to 40% within a few weeks, which is quite normal with such a big collapse, altcoins are swinging around a lot too. If you want to trade, that's great. If you want to accumulate, that's also great. Which means that if the markets are bouncing and Bitcoin is going to bounce towards higher numbers, usually that's a period where you can start selling your positions, as most of the times we're getting a retest of the lower boundaries too. So what are we expecting when it comes to the markets? Let's have a look at an altcoin. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. Let's have a look at the DXY as well. And let's have a look at the indices in the next part. So while we're looking at the price action, the first thing I want to cover is the entire dollar index. This is the DXY, which is the US dollar currency index. We also know that the correlation between the two is quite heavy, in the sense that if the dollar is showing massive strength, we know that Bitcoin is correcting relatively fast too. We've seen it happening in this entire run of the dollar. That was the Bitcoin bear market. We've seen it happening here as the January 2018. It marked the bottom on the dollar, and then we started showing strength on the dollar, which resulted into a bear market of Bitcoin. We also know that we've had this expansion here during the Corona crash. Since then, the dollar has been trending south, and that was ultimately a great result for Bitcoin to start rushing. And we also know that during this peak in May 2021, or this bottom on the dollar, since then Bitcoin is relatively in a bear market. At least the altcoins are. So what we're looking at is a potential top of the dollar, which might be relatively soon. Why? Well, if we look at the prices that we're currently getting, or the levels that we're currently getting, we have seen an expansion above these two highs. So the liquidity has been taken above these two. We see a quite heavy expansion to the top as well. And we could be getting a potential bearish divergence being started on the daily time frame for the DXY, which is resulting into some downwards momentum, or at least we could be getting some. Based on the daily time frame, I will be looking at a break beneath 103.80, as that will result that we're getting beneath these numbers here, and that is usually a flip back towards resistance, or at least showing that not enough buyers are stepping in. Right now we can't make many conclusions, although the fact is that we have seen this big expansion, and that's usually result into a correction relatively soon, and that could be benefiting Bitcoin. If you're looking at the yields, we already know that it's trending down. We have been seeing this run all the way towards the number that we have here, currently rejecting there, making ourselves a break beneath the previous low, right? So we are looking at ourselves for a lower high, and then we can start targeting this entire range for the yields. That is a trigger that is probably going to bring down the dollar a little bit too, and that is going to result into some strength on Bitcoin. First, if we're looking at the indices, not much to say. Europe has been opening relatively flat, as we can see with the candle here, and actually we're looking at a sideways period before we can actually start deriving a direction, so I'm not expecting too much there. I think that the dollar overall is one that we should be focused on. When we're looking at Bitcoin, we have been seeing some volatility here, and if we can see it from the bounce from here, it's 16%, but also the drop from last night back towards the CME gap, because this was around the open. CME gap has to be closed, which technically it has been happening here already. We still have, no, it's not the one, but we have been closing it here. If we're looking at the markets, this is the scenario that I'm looking at. We've got this previous high, right? We've got this high at 30.9. We have been sweeping this high, resulting into this wick here, have been dropping south. Now we are sweeping the lows from this entire run. And out of that perspective, the critical level that we should be breaking through is this level around 30.3. If 30.3 is going to reject for the price action of Bitcoin, the expectations are that we should be sweeping the lows here some more around 28.3 and define ourselves a new higher low there. If we do that, and the critical trigger for me is this level around 28.3, I'm expecting a continuation upwards, and then I'm expecting to sweep all these highs here, resulting into a run towards 32.8, maximum 33k. And then the question becomes, what can we be expecting more? Because in these regions, I'm assuming that we're going to get a corrective move, or at least start trending south again, based on the fact that we also have been seeing this entire structure back in May. Heavy collapse, bounce back, rejection, higher low, rejection, and then the range has been defined as all the levels are getting tested before we are seeing the volatility drain down, and then a breakout is taking place. I'm expecting the exact same to be happening here. So if we get into the upper regions, definitely be aware of the fact that there is a likely chance that we're going to correct back down towards 28 again for at least a higher low confirmation, but that we are defining a range. When we're looking at altcoins, one of them is GMT. If we're looking at the movements of Bitcoin, we can also conclude that we are having massive runs on the altcoins. This is a bounce of 120% on GMT, for instance. In that case, we've also got a few very easy trades to look at. For instance, we've got this bounce, retest, breaker, retest, continuation, in which we took all these highs here, resulting into a test. This test was sold. That's what's also most likely going to be happening with Bitcoin. Retest taking place, sideways action. The moment that we're going to break above or hold here and break above this level at 149, I think that we're going to continue moving, and then I'm assuming that we're going to get a test around this region here as we are taking these highs here, resulting into a run towards $2.20. But that is ultimately a run of 70% as well, which is massive for trading. That's the update right now. It's a little bit boring, but that is what I'm looking at with the markets. I'll be back tomorrow with a fresh new update. Make sure to subscribe beneath, and have a wonderful day. Don't do stupid shit, and I'll see you again soon.